Hello, everybody. It's me, Fee, White Zulu, and I want to welcome you to another chapter of, another chapter of Okavango Diary. And I hope you're enjoying these readings. I want to welcome you all. And if you are enjoying them, please share or press the like button or whatever people do if they want to. I'm sorry, I'm a bit Diomaka today. I haven't got any words in front of me to read, so I'm doing this off the cuff. However, this is a greeting to you all and a welcome, and I hope that you enjoy these chapters that I'm reading out. They go out twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, if all goes well. And enjoy them, and thank you so much for listening to them. Share them around. Thank you, and goodbye.
During the night, I heard some lions roaring very close to my hut. My elephant friend was back, and I could hear him rumbling as he munched on the leaves above me. I slept fitfully, not sure what was a nightmare or what was real. By now I was becoming delirious, I think, because I had this overwhelming urge to go out of my hut, walk in the direction of the lions, and end this hideous predicament I was in. The only thing that prevented me was when I opened my door, there were the elephant's legs blocking my way. I stroked him again and talked to him for a while. I must have slept through my alarm because I was woken by a pounding on the door and opened the cracked, sore slits which had become my eyes to find the BFH standing over me, hands on hips and shouting. Her voice seemed as though it was coming from a long way away as my befuddled brain tried to deal with this. "Why were you not up to see to it that the guests were ready for their excursion?" she shouted. "They told me at head office that you were perfectly healthy and well enough to go out to a party and drink with everybody." Groggily, I realized that this had been some kind of trap, and the facts had been twisted. The motive of inviting me to that braai was to show me up as a malingerer rather than anything altruistic. Again, I felt betrayed by the whole organization. Head office told me that you were running away and flying back to Johannesburg instead of coming back to your job. I was puzzled for a minute until I realized that it had been head office asking the pilot whether I was flying back to Xugana with him. I was totally confused. Did they want to get rid of me? If that was the case, then I was ready to go. I knew I urgently needed better and proper medical care than I had received. I hated this job and the people I had to work with, and there was nothing to keep me here. My own pride had prevented me from throwing in the towel too soon. But now I told her that I needed proper medical attention, explaining that the antibiotics weren't staying down, and to put me on a flight back to Maun, from where I would find a flight to Johannesburg to go to a proper hospital, as I still had the other half of my return ticket to use. The BFH said nothing, but stormed out of my hut again. Realizing that I had probably burnt my boats behind me, I sank back onto the pillows and wept. This was a terrible ending to what had been the most wonderful experience, of working so hard in the heart of the Okavango Delta with people I had grown to love. I was left totally alone from then afterwards. I was waiting to be told what flight I could take out of Xugana, so I would be ready. I still had my little overnight bag packed, and apart from my sponge bag, could pick that up and leave. The rest of my stuff could stay behind until I got back, having had a proper medical checkup and treatment, this time to resume my job. Another couple of days passed until it had been 10 days since I was taken ill. I was dehydrated so badly and had lost so much weight that my uniform hung loosely on me. I was as weak as a kitten and delirious most of the time now. It was only my elephant friend who'd kept me going, or rather stopped me from going out and walking towards the lions to put an end to my misery. I was so ill that I wanted to die, and quickly. But each time I staggered to the door and pulled it open, there were his legs blocking the way. Now he would put his trunk down and gently feel for my hand as I stroked him. Sorry. Sniffing me carefully and very gently all over. He would then rest the tip of his trunk on my hand when I stroked his leg. It was enormously comforting to have him there. On the 10th day, after I'd called in sick, the manager himself came up to tell me that there was a plane leaving in 2 hours, which would take me back to Maun, where I could catch a connection to Johannesburg. He looked rather sheepish and I think felt a little guilty as to how his wife had treated me. But he was completely ruled by her, and that was the end of it. I have never known 2 hours pass by so slowly. Finally, I heard the noise of one of our little planes landing, and dizzily I made my slow, wobbly way down to the jetty, where there was just Jonathan sitting on the boat, and no one else to be seen. I was extremely frail by now and clambered awkwardly into the boat. The plane was waiting, and again I climbed in with great difficulty, and we took off over those glorious vistas of endless green and papyrus islands poking out of the waters, and the waterlogged game trails, twisting and winding and glinting in the sun. Mercifully, Delia, my younger sister, had somehow heard that I was being rushed back to see doctors in Johannesburg. In the haze of my illness, I don't recall speaking to her, so I assume some kind soul at head office, probably Kira, had primed her. After an extremely uncomfortable 4-hour flight in the DC-3, I arrived at Johannesburg, where Delia had commandeered a wheelchair from somewhere, and took me straight to a private clinic where they put me on a drip immediately to rehydrate me while they did tests. The blood work came back as negative for malaria, which was a relief, but the urine tests had revealed hatched eggs of the bilharzia parasite, meaning that I was infected with this infernal parasite, and that was causing the illness. Bilharzia attacks the liver, and the medical staff immediately began pumping me full of antibiotics, anti-parasitical drugs, and steroids through the drip, which was the only way of dealing with that disease in those days. Bilharzia, also known as snail fever, is a disease caused by parasites, worms called schizosomes, carried by freshwater snails. The disease affects over 240 million people globally and causes an estimated 200,000 deaths a year. There are two main types of bilharzia: urogenital and intestinal. Infection occurs when the parasite's larva penetrates a person's skin during contact with infested water, often through fishing, swimming, bathing, and washing clothes. The fever bilharzia is associated with is known as Katayama fever, something which I had contracted as well. If left untreated, the parasite can cause havoc in the body, including getting into the brain, lungs, and heart if left untreated. The bilharzia life cycle. Once inside the human body, schizosome larvae develop into adult worms, and the eggs they lay become trapped in the body's tissues. Adult worms grew to approximately 1 centimetre in length, grow to approximately 1 centimetre in length and live in blood vessels. Without treatment with anti-worm medication, they can keep laying eggs for several years. Eggs can pass out of the body into the water through excreta, like urine. When this happens, they release tiny larvae that need to grow inside freshwater snails for a few weeks before they are able to infect another person. This means it's not possible to catch the infection directly from someone else who has it, but indirectly through contact with contaminated water. And this is what I had been drinking ever since I got to Xugana. The incubation period before symptoms occur is usually 1 month, which coincided exactly with the arrival of the BFH. I was released a few days later back to Delia's bed and breakfast, where she gave me a room near hers and offered me a drink. I asked for some iced fruit juice and she brought me a litre jug of it and a glass. I drained that and then a second, and was on a third when Mum rang to find out how I was and how the tests had gone. I stayed at Rutland House, where Delia kindly nursed me back to health, and I began to eat food again. Then she came and sat on my bed and suggested that since I still had the ME and now this, it would be madness to go back to work for heartless safaris again. You simply don't have the stamina anymore for that work, she told me gently. And she was right. My health never recovered from the bilharzia, and I was never able to work again. My belongings were bagged up and flown to Johannesburg, where she collected them, and I had to have a complete review of my future. That's the end of Okavango Diary, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to my videos and my stories of my life. And I want to thank John Moslane for being what I call the sound engineer, but I'm sure there's a more professional word for it. However, faithful, and for 4 years now, I think, he has been here for me every Wednesday. Well, I think it's Wednesdays, but once a week to record 2 chapters of whichever book it is I'm reading. And without him, this couldn't be done. So a big thank you to John. Also, Sean van Vuren, we send the videos to him. Sorry, I'm not reading this. I'm just doing it off the cuff. And my brain is a bit Jumaka. And Sean uploads them to the YouTube channel where you can find them all in playlists. He does it beautifully. And I want to thank them both for all the help that they give me. Well, it's not help. They do everything for me. And it's a great asset. So also, I have a website called whitezulubook.com, obviously www in front of it, but you'll find it there. Quite easy to find. Johnny Clegg's called The White Zulu. Mine's called White Zulu. And you will find on my website, you'll find all kinds of photographs going way back to when my ancestors settled in the Cape, 1652. Well, not photographs of them, but descriptions. This photograph of my grandmother's wedding, and lovely, lovely photos of the farm we still own. My sister sent me a photograph this morning of the farm in midsummer, and she says how beautiful it's looking. I've had a lot of rain. So, just want to thank my helpers, John and Sean, to thank you all for listening, and also please share this with everybody else. Hit the like button and enjoy. Goodbye.